Michael Jackson movie, in theaters right now, is not the first version. It is the second one. And that one sentence is the real story of this film. They spent $200 million building a biopic that was supposed to go all the way into the darkest chapter of Michael Jackson's public life. Then a legal problem, buried in a decades-old settlement, forced the studio to rip out the ending, reshoot major sections, and stop the story before it ever reached the part everyone expected to see. So what audiences are watching is not just a movie. It is a movie that was surgically altered after the fact. And that is why this is not a review. It is an autopsy. Let us start with the numbers, because the numbers are doing most of the talking here. Michael opened on April 24, 2026, across 3,955 screens, and the preview numbers immediately turned it into a headline machine. By the time the first wave of reporting hit, the film had already posted a $12.6 million preview haul and was being positioned as a major musical biopic event. That matters because box office is not just money in this story. It is part of the machine that keeps the whole legacy alive. 12.6M, Michael, 2026. 4.96M, Straight Outta Compton, 2015. 10.5M, Oppenheimer, 2023. Director Antoine Fuqua. Producer Graham King, the same name behind Bohemian Rhapsody. Jafar Jackson, Michael's own nephew, in the lead role. On paper, this was built to be a crowd pleaser. But the gap between critics and audiences tells you something was already split in two. A 40% critic score and a 96% audience score is not a normal disagreement. It is a signal that two very different movies are being discussed at the same time. And that split is where this whole story really begins. Development on the film started quietly in 2019. The same year the cultural conversation around Michael Jackson shifted again because of Leaving Neverland. The estate needed a response. Not just a defense, but a counter-story. And the scale of the Jackson business shows why that response mattered. MJ the Musical kept running on Broadway. Michael Jackson 1 extended its Las Vegas life. The brand never disappeared. It just kept finding new ways to reappear. The original version of the film was reportedly meant to move from his difficult childhood with the Jackson 5 through the rise of the solo superstar, and all the way to 1993, the year the first sexual abuse allegation was filed against him. That was the plan. A full arc, a complete timeline, a movie that at least pretended it was going to face the whole life. And according to reporting, they even filmed material involving an FBI raid on Neverland Ranch. That was in the movie. Shot, cut, ready. Then someone finally read the settlement language, and the entire structure changed. In 1993, Michael Jackson settled a civil lawsuit for a reported $15 million. The details were sealed, but the legal language around that settlement appears to have carried one massive restriction. The alleged victim could not be depicted or even mentioned in a commercial dramatization of Jackson's life. That single clause changed everything. The estate was not just producing the movie, it was financially tied to it. So when that clause made the original ending legally impossible, the production had to absorb the cost of massive reshoots and rebuild the film into something narrower, safer, and much more controlled. 22 additional shooting days, tens of millions in extra cost, a completely different ending, and a final cut that now stops in 1988, right before the story reaches the period that would have forced the film to confront the most dangerous part of the timeline. The title card says it for them. His story continues, but the movie itself stops where the real argument starts, and that is the entire trick. To be fair, the film is not empty. Jafar Jackson is genuinely strong in it. He carries the warmth, the softness, and the strange vulnerability that made Michael such a fascinating public figure in the first place. Coleman Domingo gives Joe Jackson controlled menace, and the early family scenes work because they make the child prodigy angle feel painful instead of just nostalgic. The thriller sequence is pure crowd-pleaser cinema. Studio footage, monster movie imagery, performance energy, and the thrill of watching a pop icon become larger than life in real time. That part works because the music is undeniable. But then the movie keeps brushing against its own construction. The CGI Bubbles chimp is the perfect example. It is supposed to feel playful, iconic, and magical. Instead, It keeps reminding you that you are watching something engineered, polished, and carefully managed to the point of artificiality. The movie shows the nose jobs, the Pepsi accident, the Peter Pan obsession, the strange Neverland imagery, and the slow drift from gifted child to cultural mystery. It gets close to darkness. Then it turns away, before the worst questions can fully land. That is why one critic called it total sanctification. It lays the groundwork for a fall, then refuses to let the fall happen on screen. This is where the story stops being about one film and starts becoming about a system. At roughly the same time, HBO stopped streaming Leaving Neverland after the Jackson estate sued the network over an older non-disparagement agreement tied to a concert film arrangement from the 1990s. A technicality from decades ago was still shaping the public record in 2026. That is not a side note. That is the point. 2 legal agreements, 2 different decades, 1 legacy that keeps getting rewritten by whoever has the best legal position at the moment. And then there is the money loop. The film succeeds, the box office feeds the estate funds the legal machine protects the narrative helps the next project succeed. That cycle is clean on a spreadsheet, and deeply uncomfortable in real life. Tiffany Naiman, director of music industry programs at UCLA, has pointed out that Jackson sits at the center of a contradiction that keeps audiences coming back. Genius on one side, controversy on the other. That tension is real, but once you start removing the controversy from the story while still profiting from the tension, you are no longer telling a complete narrative. You are managing one. Here is the paradox at the center of it all. The film is probably going to keep working. Audiences are responding to the performance, the music, the scale, and the mythology, and that response is not fake, it is real. But the movie they are celebrating was built, from the beginning, as a controlled version of a life story that could never afford to be fully honest on screen. Fuqua made a film about childhood, fame, power, and the cost of being built into an icon before you ever get the chance to become a person. That part is there. You can feel it in the shadows. Then the people financing the movie made it stop before the story reached the chapter that would have made everything else matter. So yes, the title card says his story continues. But the real question is whether the movie had the right to stop where it did. And that's where everything about this film falls apart. This wasn't just a movie that got edited. It was a story that wasn't allowed to exist. So, here is the question to leave the audience with. If the estate controls what gets made, what gets cut, what gets streamed, and what gets pushed into silence, is watching Michael an act of fandom? Or is it part of the most expensive reputation management campaign in Hollywood? And the uncomfortable follow-up, does it even matter to the average viewer if the movie still works on an emotional level? Drop your answer in the comments. Subscribe for the sequel breakdown when it lands, because that story will probably be even messier than this one.